You know how it is when you start a tech project at home, right? It always starts with a simple, clean goal, but then one tiny, little problem pops up, and before you know it, you're tumbling down a rabbit hole of unexpected complexity. Today, we're going to follow one of those stories. It's a perfect case study of how things can get wonderfully and frustratingly complicated. And this title just says it all, doesn't it? This is the story of a home lab journey, and wow, does it capture the feeling. It's a classic tale of big plans, bigger frustrations, and the kind of real learning that, let's be honest, only happens when things go spectacularly wrong. And this is the moment where it all begins. You know that feeling. Your media stack is humming along, everything's downloading, your little DIY empire feels unstoppable. It's the calm before the storm. Because the problem wasn't some huge crash or a crazy bug. Nope. It was something much quieter and way more sneaky, just running out of space. Which brings us right to the first chapter of this whole saga. That moment you realize the foundation you built isn't quite as solid as you thought. And it all boils down to one single, deceptively small number. 100 gigabytes. I mean, at first you think that's plenty of space for a virtual machine, right? A neat, tidy, self-contained little computer running on your server. It seems manageable. But as anyone who's ever run a media server will tell you, that feeling of plenty evaporates fast. And this is the absolute truth of it. Media libraries just have this way of expanding to fill every last byte you give them. So that 100 gigs goes from feeling generous to feeling dangerously tight. And suddenly you're looking over at your big, spacious network-attached storage, your NAS, and you're asking yourself, hey, why isn't my main system using all of that space? And yup, that simple question, that is the entrance to the rabbit hole. Because connecting that storage seems like it should be the easiest thing in the world, but as we're about to see, it's rarely that simple. I mean, on paper, it looks so easy. You've got the NAS over here, the server over there. You use this thing called NFS, the network file system, to share the files between them. You just connect the dots. Easy, right? Well, in practice, this is where the anxiety starts to set in. You realize you're not just plugging in a drive. You're making a big architectural choice that feels kind of permanent. And this quote just nails that feeling of dread. It's the uncertainty, the fear that you're going to make a mistake that will be an absolute nightmare to undo later. And that fear of getting locked into a bad setup, well, it pushes you to question the entire foundation, which leads to an even bigger debate. So, you see, the problem isn't just about storage anymore. Oh no, it's about the very structure of the whole system. And this brings us to one of the great debates that you'll see on basically every Homelab forum: virtual machines versus Linux containers. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. On one side, you have VMs. Think of them like secure, isolated castles. Each one is a full, separate computer with its own operating system. They're predictable, but they're heavy. On the other side, you've got LXC containers. They're more like Lego blocks. They're super lightweight, they're flexible, and they all share the main server's foundation, which makes them incredibly efficient. And this choice pretty much splits people into three different philosophies. First, you've got the traditionalist, who just sticks with what they know: stable, predictable VMs. Then there's the container-first person, who will tell you VMs are total overkill and that splitting every single service into its own little container is way easier to manage. And finally, you have the hybrid pragmatist, who just uses the best tool for the job: mixing and matching. There's no right answer here, just a whole lot of trade-offs. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter which path you choose, VM, LXC, hybrid, whatever, because eventually you are going to run headfirst into the true villain of this story. It's the one part nobody really warns you about, the thing that will quietly and maddeningly ruin everything: permissions. And this is where it stops being fun and starts getting weird. Imagine this. You get it all set up, and for some bizarre reason, only your Plex container, your media server software, can actually see the files on the NAS. Every other service you have? Nope. Access denied. It's the same system, same storage, but totally different results. It makes absolutely no sense. So here's the dream. This is how it should work. It's simple, it's clean. Your services, Plex, whatever, ask for a file, and the NAS says, sure, here you go. That's it. That's how it's supposed to be. But this is the frustrating reality. For some reason, Plex gets the green light and everything else just hits a brick wall. This isn't an architecture problem anymore. Now you're in a fistfight with the invisible, confusing rules of user IDs and file permissions deep, deep inside of Linux. And then the breakthrough, the aha moment. It's so elegant and so simple. Instead of trying to fight a permissions war inside every single container, you just sidestep the problem completely. You mount the network drive once on the main server, the host itself. Then you just pass that folder along to your containers. And to the container, it just looks like a regular local folder. And poof, all those permission headaches, they just vanish. And with that one breakthrough, the whole setup started to change. It wasn't just a system that was patched together anymore. It became something designed with purpose. Though, of course, that came with its own new set of wins and trade-offs. So the wins were immediate, and they were huge. All of a sudden, you've got these separate, lightweight containers for every service. It's just a much cleaner way to organize things. And because the main server was handling the storage now, adding new network shares became incredibly simple. But, there's no such thing as a perfect solution, right? Every evolution has a cost. Fixing the permissions problem introduced a new one. Routing all the traffic through this new setup actually slowed down the download speeds a little bit. It gave you more control, sure, but also more complexity. And that's the trade-off nobody ever mentions in the online guides. There is no perfect setup. There's only the balance that works for you. And honestly, this right here is the most important lesson from this entire story. The journey started with a really simple goal. Just make it work. But after all the trial and all that error, the focus completely shifted. It became about designing it right. And that is a totally different and frankly much more powerful way of thinking about things. Which kind of leaves us with this final question to chew on. In this whole world of tech and building things and learning, do we ever really get to a finished product? Or is the real point found in the process itself, that constant cycle of breaking things, fixing them, and making them better? Maybe the rabbit hole isn't a trap to be avoided. Maybe it's the actual path forward.